Hi, in this video we're going to be answering a question about why people change after marriage. So, Maria Nasiri asks me from Facebook, why do some people change when they get married? Is it because they never show their true colors before marriage? How come we go for someone or choose someone that we know in our hearts that someone who's not really right for us anyway? Honestly, this all comes down to the power of beliefs. This is a more esoteric way of looking at it. We all have beliefs about the world, you know. We all have beliefs that marriage has to look certain ways or relationship have to look certain ways. This is what I call our love story, that everyone has a certain love story. And also, there is a certain logic to emotion that's also worth pointing out. And the logic is that we always do things that, even at a subconscious level, solve a problem in our life. Whether that means that we are, maybe we might touch fire because fire is hot, right? Or we sleep with someone because it's a terrible thing. Or you get in a relationship with someone that you know is bad for you, but in your heart or your mind, like at a subconscious level, there is a reason why they're there. But I want to get that into more of a second. So the first part of the question, why do some people change when they get married? It's because they believe that marriage looks a certain way. That once they get married, and this is a common problem, and also this is also a problem for people who, once they get their boyfriend, girlfriend label, or once they become more exclusive, things like that, they tend to change. And that is because they believe that that's how things look like. That they believe that, maybe their partner is meant to do more work, or maybe they have to take a step back, or maybe they have to change who they are. And these are the relationships that when they get into marriage and they change who they are because they think that that's how what marriage looks like, that mums and dads or husbands and wives have certain roles, they're the ones that when they get divorced, they spend so much time trying to get in touch with who they were in the first place. And it's hard because I'm the one who's like picking up the pieces as well with you guys. It's like, honestly, when people think that they have to change and they change themselves to suit what they think the marriage is, it's not because, the second part of your question is like, do you think it's because they didn't show their true colors? No, that's bullshit. They were their true colors. This is just a way that they believe that their colors are meant to be. It's like a different hue, but it's not necessarily the right thing for the marriage. Because what's the right thing for the marriage is actually doing whatever the fuck got you married in the first place. There's a saying that if you treat someone the way that you did at the start of the relationship, at the end of the relationship, you won't have an end of the relationship. And the thing is, when we get married or things like that, we believe things away. We have this idea in our head of how things should be. And when we follow these ideas, when we say, okay, cool, so get married, it means we have to have kids in 2 years or whatever, it's like it can affect the way people interact with the world, and it can affect the way they interact with their partner. So it's not the fact that, they didn't show their true colors. It was more the fact that when they got married, or maybe you got married, I don't actually know if you're married or not, but I'm just hypothetically, if you're married, when you got married, your partner believed that marriage had to look a certain way. This is really funny. It's like people manifest the house, people manifest the dog, people manifest the kids, people manifest the happiness, but they don't manifest like the story that goes along with it, or they don't manifest the argument that happens in the house, and we forget because we have certain ideas of how things go, And if you want to have a genuine look of, one thing you can do is just have a look at their parents. It's not always the case, but a good majority of the time with some people have certain standards of relationships about how they think, like their standard relationship is, especially with marriage, is maybe how their parents were, People who tend to have broken parents' marriages sometimes, not all the time, I'm going to tell you why not all the times otherwise, not all the time they perceive that that's the way it should go. If they came from a really stable relationship with their parents still being together, they're more likely to think that that's the way it should go. Now, inversely, some people are so traumatized or so hateful about the fact that their parents' relationship were a certain way that they try so hard for it not to be that way. And when you're in that kind of thing, it's like you look at these people and you're like, okay, cool, they don't actually like the way their parents are. Maybe they're going to be different. Or sometimes it's worth discussing what they think marriage looks like. So if you're about to get married, if you're engaged, like, what do you think is going to change with marriages? If the answer is not much, that's the best answer. As simple as that. If the answer is a lot, then maybe you have to realize that maybe this guy has a different impression about what marriage is meant to look like. To answer the third part of your question, how come we go for someone or choose someone that we know in our heart is someone that is not right for us anyway? Because honestly, sometimes if you haven't made the same mistake enough times to learn the lesson, then you haven't made that mistake enough times. I've definitely seen people, or I've encountered a lot of people that, they maybe even sleep with the same guy over and over again, and they wake up the next day like, why do I keep doing this? And then I ask them, what are you so attracted to him about? It's like, there is something there. There is always a reason why we're attracted to these people that aren't necessarily good for us. It's discovering that reason and sometimes realizing you can get it from somewhere else, you know? In reality, some people are addicted to emotions, and I'm not saying you're addicted to emotions because we're always unique and we're separate from all the rules, right? But some people are addicted to emotions. Whether or not that means we want love or we want hate or things like that, whatever we perceive our love story to be. And if we think that we can get it from someone, and I did make a video about this a very long time ago about the white whale, which I'll talk about just in a second, where it's like we see we can potentially get the full relationship, even though sometimes we're like deluding ourselves. If we think that we can get the full relationship, then sometimes we put in all the effort and the other person is left going like they're not putting any effort. So a big thing to know that relationships are collaborative. They are two people working together. And in that element, you do need to leave space for that other person to fulfill his role of the relationship. That, you can't be always putting in the work. And a lot of people ask me questions, and there's a bit of a rant. A lot of people ask me questions like, how do I make him do this? Or how do I make him do that? And if you want to make him do something, then you're basically taking his element out of the relationship. And when he takes a step forward, then that way he's actually going to be participating. He actually wants to be part of it. So you have to have those situations as well. But to answer your question, because I went around about way of doing it, when we get it, we end up seeing someone that we know isn't good for us. It's because in some ways we think he is good for us. Regardless of if it's nothing, so there are 4 levels of relationships that's worth pointing out. The first level is no relationships, where you think no one in my life, where I say relationships very generally, like friendships or lovers or intimate partners, things like that, where it's like, there's no one in my life, they're not worth having. The second tier, or level 2, is someone is better than no one, which is actual fact, it's a fallacy, that you want someone in your life because you're lonely or you're whatever. That is not necessarily the best place to be. The third one is level 3 relationship, where you are with someone and it's like an equivalent exchange, that you're like, oh, they love me as long as I love them. Or we do this. This is where we sign the contract, where you say, you can never leave me as long as I will never leave you. And if it's something out of giving, then that's good. But sometimes people don't do that because they feel like it's an equivalent exchange. Like this is why some people go into business, things like that, where it's like, just you give me and I give whatever my money is. The best relationships of any kind, business, romantic, intimate, friendships, is a level 4 relationship where everyone is just giving. So you're giving and they are giving in this most intense way as much as possible. And remember, you can give to someone in the wrong way and it's still not giving. So it's about knowing where someone else is at and giving them that. So here, if you keep going at it, if you keep meeting the same guy or going and making the same mistakes, getting relationships that you know they aren't good for you, at a subconscious level, you're trying to get to that level 4 relationship, that you think that that's the best. Or maybe you're at a point where some relationship's better than no relationship. Or maybe at a point, maybe this is some equivalent exchange and you keep hoping he's going to give back to you, but he's not going to. Once you experience a level 4 relationship, shit never goes back. You now suddenly know that this is the standard that you keep. And it's always the best standard to have. So I really hope you got value out of this question. As always, make sure to leave a like, because if you did, then I like you. And make sure to subscribe, because if you don't, I'm coming for you. All right, see you in the next video.